Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast, the podcast for financial coaches by financial coaches. I and my co-host, Cody Sizemore, are happy to be with you here today. Hey, Cody, welcome.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm fantastic today. Appreciate you asking. Listen, okay. I have a conversation that I really just want to have with you. No one else. Just you.
Well, good thing we're recording it and putting it out to the world.
And here's why, because I think I can be totally real with you. I think that, even when there's some vulnerability, it's like, you're able to just listen and pick that up. So I had a question and I'm like, you know what? I think this is actually something that our listeners might encounter as well. So I'm just going to throw this out there and just kind of see what you say. So I was thinking the other day about how, how we've talked about on this podcast before about having like your ideal client and how to kind of determine what that is and how to go out and find them, talk to them. We've had all that discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've also had the discussion on maybe a little bit more brief basis of if they're not your ideal client, how do you say, no, this isn't going to work? And we've kind of addressed that a little bit. But I'm curious, and I'll tell you what, I'll actually give you a little bit of context as to where this curiosity came from. So every single week, our local library has a program that is set up for entrepreneurs. It's called EON. That's really not relevant, but that's what Entrepreneurial Outreach Network is what that's called. So they meet every single Monday. I don't have time to go there anymore, but I will tell you that when I went there every single week back like 4 or 5 years ago, the program was fantastic and I was able to just do a lot of really great things. So this is a program where you go and you can learn things, but you can also network with people. And I will be very transparent with you and almost to the point of sounding judgmental and say that there are times when I would be in there and, like some of the same people would come in, then there'd be different people because it was not you didn't have to sign up for the class or anything. It was just, very random. Mm-hmm. There were some times when the same people would come in and based on some of the stuff that they would say or some of the ideas that they would have or, whatever. Here's where I'm totally sounding judgmental. I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't think I would really ever want to work with that person. I don't think that would be a really good fit. Or they are really intrigued by what I do. And then like you hear a mindset around which like, it's just not a mindset that's going to work well with what I do. How do you say thanks but no thanks to somebody like that where there's actually like an emotional component to it because there is potential ramifications later on. Like there's these implications of what if they don't want to refer people to me anymore, that kind of thing. And so I'm just curious, how would you handle something like that? So that way our listeners, because I'm sure whether they go into networking events or whatever, they're going to encounter something like this. So I'm just curious as to what you would say about that.
Yeah. So I have a few questions before I get into it. But first, before I ask the questions, I want to just point out that this is a prime example. Now, we haven't brought this up in a long time. This is something that we brought up very early in our podcasts. This is a prime example of knowing the difference between the demographic of type of people that you want to help and also the psychographic of the type of people that you want to help. So the difference of that is like the demographic is like, how old they are, if they're married or not, what kind of jobs they do, what sort of the income they have, what their financial situation looks like. Like you could have that demographic and that person could fit that demographic very well for you. They could be your ideal client with the demographic side of things, but the psychographic side of things does not align at all. right? So maybe you're looking for people who are, of good integrity. Maybe you're looking for people who, are hardworking, who are go-getters, who, will do anything it takes, like whatever it might be. They could be super ideal with the demographic side of things, but not ideal with the psychographic side of things. And that's what's more important. So I think that this is probably what you are referring to is like, well, yes, I can help this person, but I don't really want to help this person. Right?
Yes, mostly. And on a logical level, I could help them, but due to some of those psychographics, I don't know that I could help them. Like there are some that just, either our values aren't aligned or my approach would not work for them based on some of their psychographics, etc. So you're spot on with that.
Yeah. So my question to you is, when this has come up to you in the past, what have you done so far?
So if I'm being totally honest, I probably panicked internally, Cody. I probably went through all of the worst case scenarios. Like, okay, if I don't want to work with this person, then what's it going to look like for referrals later on, et cetera, et cetera. Oftentimes, whatever I went to never even came about. So that's something else to remember for our listeners. Most of what we worry about never comes to being. There have been a couple things. Sometimes I just listen. I can actually think of somebody right now. There was one person who I didn't really feel aligned in some ways, but I also wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. So I went ahead and said, let's meet together and just kind of see what that would look like. That way there could be a concrete reason that I wasn't able to work with her. So it would, when we put it out on paper, it would kind of be like, yeah, that's not my area of expertise. And I have ideas and stuff. And if it were the right fit for me, maybe I'd be able to do it, but I keep all that quiet. And then I'm able to say concretely, this is not my area of expertise, but I know somebody who may be able to help you. And then try that. Unless it's somebody that I don't want to send to anybody that I know, like, or trust. And then I have a hard time with that because I don't want to just dump this person on someone that I like because I actually want to maintain that relationship. I don't want to just send her to Cody, right? because I actually need to maintain a relationship with Cody. So there's that part of it as well. So it just depends on how misaligned we are, I think, is part of it. When I said that I was going to bring up the Eon thing, the reason I brought it up is because, now I have a meeting there every month. So at the library, and there are times when I'm at the meeting and I and the individual I'm working with are trying to decide whether or not we want to attend the meeting. And that sometimes is decided primarily by who's walking past us to go to that meeting, because the meeting's in the same location. And someone will be like, oh, I see so-and-so. Today I'm not going to go. And that is a little bit of a different problem to have, but it got me thinking about, that individual, either contacted me and wanted to work with me and it just wasn't a good fit, or, whatever. Now it's kind of awkward. It's kind of like when you need to go on a fourth date, but you're not really supposed to go to date, but you're forced to do it. It's kind of that feeling. So, that's why I brought that up, because I was recently at a meeting where that was the case. We saw the other meeting going on and we're like, we'll let this one go a little bit longer so that we don't have to go to that meeting and see that individual. Anyway, I digressed, but I wanted to let you know where all of this came from, because this didn't happen in terms of a client very recently. It's happening in a different way, but I thought it would just kind of be a cool topic to talk about when it comes to our clients.
Yeah. So, I think the best way to handle this now, I don't want to say the best way, but a way to handle this, would be just to be upfront with them, but be delicate with them and just say, hey, thank you for, filling me in as far as what you're dealing with and, being honest with me and open. I really appreciate that. I'll also be honest and open with you. I don't think that this would make sense for us to do, because I don't think that we're exactly like the best fit. And here's why. Right now, I'm working with people that are in similar positions, but they have these certain things that are different in the way that are really, really unique to the way that I like to handle things. I like to help people. And I think that there's just a little bit of misalignment there, which is nothing against you. Like, you're you, and that's amazing. I don't want you to change in any way. I love that about you. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think that by us working together that you're going to get the best results from me. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to just bring you on for the sake of bringing you on. That's not why I started this business. That's not why I'm in this business. I'm in this business to help people get as much results as possible and have it align, with what's going to work best for them. So I just don't think that makes sense for us to do. But what I can do is I can either refer you to this person who I think would be a good fit for you, or at very least, I do have some resources that I think might be a good help for what you're dealing with. And I'd be more than happy to just send that over to you free of charge, because I care about you and I want the best for you, and I do want to help you in some way. And that's a really good starting point. I think that'll help you get off the ground, get some traction, and, just keep me posted. Let me know how things go. If you have questions, I'd be happy to help, to some extent. But that's where I think I'm at with that personally, and I hope that you can understand.
Mm-hmm. That was very, very well put, Cody. I think some of that would be uncomfortable in the actual moment, face to face with somebody. But you know what? A lot of times the best things come from uncomfortable situations. So not to say that that's not good. Two things that I absolutely pulled out, I wrote down, I love them. And if we were looking for a very condensed version of what you just said, I think these two things would be fantastic and maybe even not be quite as uncomfortable. The words that I wrote down are, I don't think by us working together will get you the best results for you. Mm-hmm. And I know that was not proper English. Right. but it could be, tweaked. And then also the other thing I wrote down was resources, because I love that part about it. If I had somebody that I just don't think the value, like, for example, if somebody believes that they are victims of circumstance, like they have zero control over anything in their life, and that, everything happens to them, nothing happens for them, they can't control anything. Those are some thoughts that can absolutely be shifted if they work with somebody who can help shift those thoughts, right? But if they're in a spot where they're not ready to work with somebody in order to shift those thoughts, I am not well aligned with that individual. I will not be able to work very well financial coaching wise with somebody who believes that they're completely powerless over everything. Because part of what I do is help to empower them. And if they have decided that they have no power, they're not able to get that power, it will be very difficult for me to empower them. That is also the type of individual that I'd have a hard time sending to you, for example. Not because I don't think you're capable of doing it, but because I like you and I would like to maintain that relationship with you. And I don't want you to call me and be like, really? Why did you have to send it to me? So unless you said to me, hey, this is the type of person I absolutely love working with, I would have a hard time with that. The resources, though, I love that piece of it because, and I have a feeling, I may be wrong, but I have a feeling that when you say I have a resource for you, you can take this because I care about you, you're probably talking about something that you've personally developed, like your 3-step money map or something like that. Is that accurate? Okay. Yep. So I love that. And it also just dawned on me as I was talking this through with you that there might be other resources that could help them get rid of that victim of circumstance mentality, for example. There could be just a book that came to mind or whatever. And that is another potential resource that we could give them. And so I just had that little aha moment and wanted to share that with you because I may not have created a financial coaching resource that could help get that person from point A to point B, because I can't work with them until they're at point C, for example. Like maybe that's where they need to be before I can help them get to D. But this resource that we have, whether I created it or curated it, could help them get from A to B and then from B to C. And then maybe they would be a fantastic person to be able to work with. So I love those two things that you put out there. I love the first one because you made it about them. You didn't even I actually took out the part about how the people I work with have these certain characteristics that you don't have. Because then that begs the question of, well, what characteristics are those that I don't have? Like, now I got to tell you that you kind of seem to be a victim of circumstance. And that just becomes very uncomfortable because really that assumption is being based, and at least in this case, that assumption is being based on having seen this person maybe 4 times for an hour at a time over 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. And so it's probably not a fair and full assumption. And so I would have a hard time saying that because now I'm just projecting what I see onto them, and that's not fair to them either. So that's why I took that part out. But I love the part about I don't think that us working together is going to get the best results for you.
Yeah,
it doesn't even
that's really important.
Why? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very important because then it's not like you're just pushing them off, and they don't feel that way. When you phrase it that way, it gives them the impression, which it's a true impression, that you actually do just care about their well-being. Because that's what we do as coaches. We care about the well-being of everyone that we talk to, everyone that we work with. And part of that sometimes is recognizing that we would not be good fits, and that would not be good for not just us, but also them. So, putting it on them and making them the focus, it really allows them to feel appreciated, and it makes them feel like they're not just a number to you, and they're not being taken advantage of or anything like that, which people appreciate, especially in this space, the financial industry. There's a lot of people who don't do that. They just want to make a quick buck off of someone. So to have that change is very refreshing to a lot of people.
Yes.
And then going off the resources side of things, that's just a way of providing value to them in some way, whether it be a small thing or, a medium thing or even potentially even a large thing. I don't know. But giving them some sort of resource, it gives them some sort of value so that if they know someone else, they can go back and say, well, I never really worked with Maria, but she explained that we just wouldn't be the best fit. And I really appreciated that. And on top of that, rather than just letting it stay with that, she also did help me by giving me this resource. So I think Maria is a stand-up person, and I'm going to feel pretty confident with referring this person that I know to Maria because she took care of me. In some way, whether it be small or not, she took care of me.
Yeah. And that brings it back full circle to that internal dialogue that happens with, if I turn this person down and it's not that I was counting, and this isn't even a real example, but it's not that in this example, I was counting on that person for referrals. But if you're in a like a networking event situation, then you kind of at least have that implication there that, that people could refer people to you. And so that is it's like the tail end of all of this. Like it does matter whether or not this person thinks highly of you or thinks like you're a real scumbag, right? So I love that last piece that you put in there, that you did serve them in the way that you were able to serve them. You had a resource, again, whether created or curated, that you were able to say, you know what, this reminds me of you. This could really help you get where you need to go. And I think also leaving that door open, I think I would add, and this is, again, just me talking out loud and thinking out loud. I would maybe add for now, because if that person did have a shift in their thinking, and they realize that they do have some control over some things, and they were willing to identify the things they had control over versus the things they didn't have control over, well, now we're aligned. And I absolutely can help that person. And so if we throw in the 2 words for now, that might actually leave that door open to be able to help them later on.
Really, really good add-on. Really good add-on.
That's what happens when I think out loud sometimes.
Yeah.
It comes out rambly, but usually there's something good in there. So I'm really glad that helped. Thank you so much for helping me to walk that through. Again, it's not anything that happened super recently, but it is something that I think happens more often than we're willing to admit. And because we are, and I know every person who listens to the show consistently is a helper. They want to be able to help and give and impact other people's lives. And so I think sometimes there's that disconnect between, wanting to be able to do that and knowing that we are not the person to do that for every single individual who comes across our path. And so I really appreciate you letting me walk through that today with you. And hopefully, as people were listening, they came up with some ideas on, I whether I wanted to admit it or not, I probably did feel that way with this other individual. And that was a really weird thing to try to come to terms with. So as always on this show, we like to be very open and transparent and let you see behind the curtain of fakeness. We want you to know, like, these things happen in our hearts and our heads too. So you're not totally off base if you're not always wanting to help every single person that you come into contact with.
Right.
All right. Well, anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I want to add is just an ask of the listeners. If you enjoyed today's show, we would absolutely love it if you would leave a review and or rating on our show, because it definitely helps push that out to more financial coaches that are looking for this type of resource. And that's why we started this whole show in the first place, was, we were looking for something like this and we just decided to create it. So here we are. But we obviously want to help as many people as we can. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And also we do offer a free Facebook group as well to get plugged into and stay connected with us, as well as hundreds of other like-minded coaches. That Facebook group is called New Money Habits Financial Coaches. So get plugged in there. It's a growing community. There's a couple hundred coaches in there right now, and we would love to see you there. So thank you so much for the discussion today, Maria. It's definitely a good one, definitely helpful. And we will catch you guys next week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching. Music provided by Summer School.